everybody? Welcome back with yours truly, another dry sales show. Today, I'm here with Jim Walsh. He's the owner of Relo Solutions Group. So, look, I'll tell you that this guy has started the business and he's fundamental to success of movers for a couple of reasons. But that's my opinion. We'll get into it in a second. So, Jim, welcome.
Hey, so happy to be with you, Milo.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. So, talk to us about Relo Solutions Group. Like, walk us through like what you guys do, how you help the moving industry, how you start. Like, there's a bunch of questions that I kind of have. So, I'd love to
Sure,
hear it from you.
sure. So what we do is, traditionally called third-party services. So we do crating and specialty relocation services for the moving industry. So oftentimes we're handling things that the typical moving and storage company either doesn't have the skilled labor to handle or they don't want the liability to handle. So it's things like, from an appliance perspective, disconnect and reconnect of water lines and electric lines and gas lines. So, disconnect the gas range, cap the gas line, disconnect the gas dryer, cap the line. We'll prepare the appliance, do pre-condition reports on washer, drain all the pumps. Refrigerators will disconnect the solenoid valves for the water lines and the ice maker lines, and we'll drain them and prepare the appliance for transport. And then, that's kind of in the appliance category. We do things like lots of crating. So glass, marble, statuary, antiques, art. So lots of on-site crating. Our service crews do fitness equipment, clocks. So a whole litany of things that movers aren't really skilled for, or don't have the experience for. That's what we do. It's a lot of what we do is through moving companies or relocation management firms, but we also do more and more direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. So lots of people have lots of things that they need help with, and we're there for them.
That's awesome. So the reason why I mentioned before that you help moving companies do their job successfully is because you remove the liability and having them focus on the things they're good at, versus if you have a chandelier dangling in a huge house that's expensive, you necessarily want to have someone that's very equipped, that has the skill set to take that down, to make sure it's transported safely. So I think it's absolutely crucial for the customer as well.
Oh, for sure. And it's amazing that this is the third company that I've had in this space since I graduated college. So, but honestly, there's only been 3 companies that have been started as national third-party companies since 1999 or 1994, and I founded all of them. So I don't know. Maybe I need to have my head examined.
We all do. Look, we're in this business. We all do. So there's always head checking that has to happen. But now that you mentioned it, why did you start your first company, let alone your third? Like, why did you start your first company? What led you to it?
Yeah, I always dreamed of being my own business person as a kid. My parents were broke. My dad was a truck driver. I have 7 kids. My mom worked part-time in the library. So, we never had much of anything. So I was out there working. And so if I wanted new sneakers or a shirt, I had to, shovel or rake or, do whatever I needed to do to kind of make my own money to have those things. So I think that really instilled in me work ethic. After I graduated college, I worked for a moving company on Long Island. And the owner said to me verbatim, "I'm either going to teach you this business or I'm going to kill you." And he was sincere. It wasn't being facetious. And he was a very big man and intimidating man. So I said, I better listen to this guy or I'm going to be dead. But he was one of these people that kind of, you got to get in it. You got to, pick up the phone, call, figure it out. And, so I learned consumer sales and O&I sales. And then I would work the trucks, and I got all those designations related to certified moving consultant and CRP and global mobility. I got them all back then, and because I just wanted to become kind of a subject matter expert in a space. So I like the moving industry, but I didn't really want to do that anymore. I didn't see really a path to entrepreneurship. And then I had an opportunity to kind of run a small company in New Jersey that was a local third-party company doing much of what we do now, except in a very, kind of 1 or 2 county space. And at some point I said to my boss, hey, there's this thing called the internet. And, why don't we try to branch out and find service providers that are capable nationally and try to, scale. And he said, okay, well, why don't you try it? There is a couple companies doing this already, and gave me an opportunity to kind of build out a team and start building out a service network. And he was one of these guys that, I said, hey, Gordon, we really need a marketing plan. He'd say, yeah, you're right. Have one to me by Wednesday of next week, and we'll go to Chili's and talk about it and have a beer and review your marketing plan. So it was much like the military. If you made a suggestion, they would say, great, go do it.
And that's awesome though. Like that led you, that was, the thing is, the path that you took says a lot in terms of what you did. So I think it's phenomenal. So can you tell me, how did the first marketing plan look?
Oh man, I literally, it was very rudimentary. The first thing I probably did is went to Barnes and Noble and bought, back then, not all this, you couldn't find everything in the world on the internet. So I would literally just go buy. I remember I bought a business plan on, business plan builder from Barnes and Noble. I did a marketing plan template from Barnes and Noble. So there was some cookie cutter stuff, but it wasn't nearly as accessible as it is now.
That's all. I mean, that's awesome. And then, and also having good bosses or having good managers, whatever you want to call it, I think it's crucial. So imagine if the first guy, when you were in the moving industry, didn't give you the either you know this business or I'll kill you type of thing.
Yeah.
He told you know what, you're not worth my trouble, and he'll just let you go down, let you go.
Yeah.
How would that look? You know what I mean?
Yeah, not great. And I got to tell you, I haven't had many very good managers. I wouldn't consider these guys great managers, but there were people that forced me to learn. And so I would say that anybody listening to this podcast, if you're in a situation where you have a supervisor that's maybe not great, you got to learn to coach up to them, and you've got to learn to figure stuff out. And maybe, I'm a Christian, and sometimes I believe that people are put in positions so that that pain, that challenge becomes very formative to you as an individual. So if you're going through it and you're in a grind and you don't know why, maybe that's why. Maybe it's you're learning to grind it out. You're learning new skills, and you're learning the hard way, which is usually the way you'll remember.
Yeah, my team is going to watch this. They're going to say, oh, yeah, this is what we should do. Because Milovan is not a great manager. We're just
Right. Either lazy or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like at least hopefully my team is learning something. If they're not, then I'm in a world of pain. But anyways, I mean, it's the thing is, it's key to make sure that regardless, like for example, you might not be the best people person, or might not be the best empathetic manager in the world. But if you end up teaching people something, they'll always remember it, like you did with these two guys. Yeah. Like they will, regardless of what you think of them as people, you will always remember them that they thought you something valuable, something
Absolutely.
Like that. And it's key. It's key.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing. Life is about moments. I think that moments are learning is about moments, right? I mean, if we think about all those things that are kind of pivot points in our professional careers, oftentimes it's like these individual moments. So one of those individual moments was for me. I used to go out with my dear friend in New Jersey, Peter Obermeyer, who worked for me at my first company that I was running. And I would talk about, Pete, I've got to be honest with you, I really want to do this myself. I want to start my own company. And finally he said to me, shut up. And he says, we used to have fun together, and now all you do is talk about this thing. Either do it or don't do it. But can we have a conversation that's not related to this subject matter and like have a relationship like we used to? And that really challenged me. It challenged me to start writing a business plan. And over 3 or 4 months, I had a business plan, and it kind of went from there.
And that's awesome. Now, business plan is not the only thing that you need to start. My next question is, how did you start the first, like, what were your steps in reaching out to get the service providers in any nation, city, big city, whatever, across the states, to build that network when there wasn't all like easily accessible as it is right now?
Right. I mean, back then, even back then, there were a lot of industry-related conventions, and I was the marketing guy. I was the guy cutting and signing the checks. I was hiring and firing, but I was going to do all the sales too. So I had a small admin staff that were my admin staff. And when I would go to any market, I would literally, whoever potentially were service providers, I'd try to meet them for coffee or lunch and shake their hands and talk to them about what they do and maybe how they could work with us. And so a lot of the service providers nationally, I actually know. I know them. I know their families. So that's definitely one method. Another method is, my operations team and I, over many years, would literally call as we're at convention, and I'd meet a service provider in Spokane, and I'd say, hey, you know what? I got to be honest with you. In your market, we struggle with, crating services. How do you guys coordinate that? And they'd say, hey, you know what? There's a company named Charlie's Packing and Crating. He services Spokane. And I'd say, hey, do you mind if I reach out to you and get that information? So much of it was a kind of referral through local providers.
I mean, that way of building a relationship, it takes time and a lot of effort.
It takes time. But even what's even after 25 years of being in this space, every single day, we are onboarding new vendors, new service partners. And that's what's amazing to me is, we do, 20,000 service requests, and we're still onboarding all the time.
And the thing that's I believe is marvelous is that as you start the company and your own boss, like you run the thing, you know the industry inside and out. 20,000 requests that get sorted out throughout a year is ridiculous, in my opinion, especially for helping moving companies nationally and to coordinate it. It's all based on relationships. And
Yes.
I believe that this industry, as it is, as it's been for ages now, is all based on relationships. I mean, majority of industries are, but anyway, this one has like deep roots.
I agree with you. I mean, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about the moving and storage business is it's people are real. It's about relationships. The vast majority of people are honest, hardworking, and kind. Now, we all hear about these, scoundrels, but they are the vast minority. I mean, the vast majority of people that intentionally choose to be in the moving and storage space have a passion to serve. They are not deceitful criminals. They are good people that want to provide a great service and do the right thing. And that's been my experience over the many, many years I've been doing this. And I love the people in our space.
That's why I stayed in this space. If you ask me why, why again moving storage, you could have done something else. Like I actually love the people that I get to interact on a daily basis.
Right.
I legitimately enjoy, even when someone tells me, no, I don't like what you're doing, it's not good enough, or whatever it is, we don't need your services, it doesn't really matter. They're not dicks about it.
Yeah.
Like to put it very they'll tell you like, we don't need the service, thank you very much, but they're not like. And then, as you said, I mean, the industry has gotten a bad name for a lot of reasons in the past, but the vast majority of people that you and me discuss and interact with, they're absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
Like, and you can see the drive that they want to help people get everything sorted in a very stressful period for them. Anyway, so
absolutely.
now tell me, how did it feel? So let's move on to let's go back to the first company. Like, how did it feel to close your first actual deal, to generate your first revenue? I'm sure you remember. And how did you get to that first job that you specifically did and organized?
Well, literally the first order I ever took, I called on a local mover in New Jersey, and they said, "We got a company we're doing business with." And I said, "Well, I know you weren't waiting for me to walk through the door." I said, "But how about you let me bid on something? I said, "What do you got? Like, show me some moves that you booked." And so the guy pulls out some files, and I said, "Where's a third party need?" And he's like, "Well, I got 2 flat crates and a clock on this job." And I said, "Okay, hold on a second." Literally, I said, "Okay, that is, $250." And he's like, "Hold on." And he looks at his quote from someone else for 235. And he's like, "Well, you know what? You're a little higher, but I'll give you a shot, kid." And that's literally, I just asked for an order and someone gave me an order while I was standing in their office.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So that is, yeah. I mean, I know the first deal I ever closed. I still remember it to this day. And at that time, I was absolutely terrible at sales. I'm not saying I'm good at sales right now, but I was absolutely terrible. And all I did was pester the person 50 fucking times a day. I didn't want to curse, but it brings it out of me.
Yes.
Um, and then the person finally caved. And I felt that it was like I sold something. And then now looking back at it from this perspective, it's like, oh my God, that was a terrible, terrible way to sell. But
Right.
but the thing is, it taught me, first of all, what not to do, how not to deal with people. But like, I remember the feeling of when I actually closed the job. I was literally dancing in the office
Cool.
by myself, and everybody
Yeah.
looked at me like I was out of my mind, obviously, because they had no idea like I was on the phone the entire time. So
I
it's
think that's cool. I think about some of those early successes, and oftentimes I was that same way. I was like so in their face and so much following up that I almost, some people were like, go scratch, go away. And some eventually were like, wow, this kid is persistent and let's give him a shot. But I think with age and lots of this, right, and maturity, I recognize that sometimes, forming those relationships is the client might not be ready, right? So
yeah.
maybe they're overwhelmed at the moment. They're interested in the proposition of potentially entertaining a new provider, but the timing isn't right. Maybe something's going on behind the scenes in their life so that they're just not wired for change. So I recognize that now. I didn't when I was younger. So I recognize now that, just do the right thing, be consistent, get wide and get wide in your service offering, but also concurrently have, your top 50 and be working those while you're also getting wide, and then it all works out. But it's just consistency.
it That's such an underrated skill in sales, is showing up every day and doing the work every day. It goes across not just this industry, across any industry, especially in sales. Consistency wins over talent, over anything else. If you come in and do the work every day, the results will come. Obviously, if you're not like very belligerent in the way that you speak to people, but consistency is key to any sales rep success. And the methodology behind that consistency, I think, is crucial. What I mean by that is how you structure your day and what
Hmm.
you do in a set amount of hours. For example, if you're a salesperson doing like sales development or business development, you're on the phone a
Hmm.
lot, whatever, follow-ups with those 50 clients that you said, you structure it. You come in, there's a block, an hour block that you prep. There's another
Time
hour,
blocking is critical.
an hour block for this,
Hmm.
rest, block, call, block. Like you structure your day, because that's what got me success. And I didn't know exactly why I was doing
Yeah.
it. I didn't know when I started. I really had no idea. But I figured out it's the process that I've made for myself, and I came in and did it every day. That made a world of difference compared to anybody else that I was currently. I was at that time actually
Yeah.
working.
That's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll tell you a funny story. When I was a kid, I love sports like so many, young people do. And I still do, but, I'm on a football team, and it's senior year. I'm, 5'9", 160 back then. And my coach puts his arm around me and says, Jim, you will always be on, my team. You know why? Because you work harder. You're not that talented. He goes, but you work harder than anyone. And so he goes, I need people like you on my team. And so I kind of, it was maybe a backhanded compliment, but I tell that story often, and I try to use that same work ethic now. Is just grind it out. I love. By the way, I love Saturdays. I love to come to work on Saturdays.
really.
I absolutely. We have remote workers, so generally at my corporate office here, I don't have other people working. They're in California or Texas or Florida, but so the office is to myself, and I can focus and I can plan and I can respond to maybe some of the things that we're lacking. So 4 to 6 hours on Saturday is amazing for me.
That and plus it's also like that's great because that then gives you a reset and
Yeah.
focus, and then it's a time for yourself, and you do what you enjoy.
Hmm.
Um, I used to when I needed a reset. Like as I grew older, like that's disappearing. But I used to play video games.
Uh-huh.
It's when I was younger. It's not like I'm old right now, but like when I was way younger, when I was more keen to do that stuff, it gave me a reset. Like I
Hmm.
was the one that you need to have like a hobby or some sort that will actually
Absolutely.
focus, even if it's work by yourself in the office.
Yeah.
That's it. But I think it's key.
Yeah. The other thing that really helps me is fitness. Um, and so for many years I did martial arts. I haven't done that in a little while because I had an injury, but just lifting some weights, doing some push-ups, getting a jog in. To me, when I feel kind of mentally in a funk, I know I need to get some endorphins going. And like, life is hard, right? I went through a divorce last year. That was like the most challenging time of my life. And I cried like a baby every day for 90 days. So life is painful and hard, and it's not always a straight line. And so, you know, for me, being in the Word and fitness and just kind of staying consistent with those things helped me get through it. And so, I would say anybody that's kind of feeling like they're in a funk, do those two things.
I can't tell you enough how much I agree with this because what's the martial arts that you've done? What's the martial art that you've done?
Goju, which is like a traditional karate, and then I've done a kempo, which is a mixed martial
Mixed.
art. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I ask is I played sports and I haven't done anything in 4 years now because of my injury. I busted my knee completely, like everything that was in my knee completely busted it. broke
Wow.
everything, every tendon, like ACL, MCL, all of that stuff, like everything, meniscus, everything was shattered. Obviously, I did it playing soccer, um, and I haven't done anything in 4 years. And I started actually 3, 4 months ago. I started to go to the gym to lift weights and all that stuff, and it feels phenomenal.
Doesn't
Like,
it?
oh my god, it feels so good. Like I now
Yeah.
have a routine, go 3, 4 times a week, get the reps in, and then afterwards I feel like the burn is there, obviously, but like I feel so good that I
Yeah.
can easily focus on the job and just like knock everything out with no stress.
Yeah. And, for me, what I've experienced, and this is kind of like so simplistic, but if I don't have it on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So on Saturday, that's one of the things is like I'll plan my week, but I'm incorporating on my schedule there, or okay, when am I going to get some fitness in? And I time block those in so that they happen.
Again, we're going back to time blocking.
Yeah.
It's all about organization, how you utilize your time. As an
Hmm.
owner, as a salesperson, as whichever, whatever, doesn't matter. Because I think organization is key, and that's one of the skill sets that in my early days I lacked. Like I hated organization. I would want to do
Hmm.
everything ad hoc, whatever
Yeah,
happens, happens, improv. But as I got older, you realize that organization is key to success.
it is. It is. And then one of the great um, pieces of counsel that someone gave me years ago also is I was in a group called Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a group of business owners nationally that if by the way anybody listening to this, if you're a business owner and you do at least $1 million in revenue, you should look into Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a great organization. It's a peer group, and you can learn a lot from your peers. But anyway, I was lamenting that I was overwhelmed and I'm stressed out, and somebody says, "Well, you're working in your business," and I'm like, "Duh." Of course I'm working in your business. He goes, a true leader is working on your business. You're not working in it, you're working on it. And that impacted me so that I needed to kind of, get people in those roles, get them trained up, and so that I could be released to start looking more broadly on the vision and quality improvements and just working on the business in every capacity rather than being immersed in a task.
I feel victim to the same thing. Just say
Yeah.
that. But aren't we all when we're starting our own businesses to begin with? You got to though, don't
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah. That leverage is the key. So when you're starting, you're doing everything right, and then as you're building, you're getting teams around you. The ability to get those teams in place, and they're the leverage that you need so that you can scale.
And also the team knowing that you can do a very good job at whatever the task they have. So they can look up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can sit in their chair
Yeah.
and do that job as good in many cases as those people in the chairs.
And it's fundamental because then the people that you work with will respect if there's something that needs to happen, they can actually come to you for advice, and they know that's something that can actually help versus giving some bland or like random message or motivational speech and then with no substance. Because
Yeah.
I had a couple of friends actually lately, they came up to me and their managers or whatever you want to call them, whenever they asked them for help, they gave them that you can do it, you can figure it out, you can do it, push through, like with no substance on how to
Right.
tackle said
Yeah.
problem. And everybody gets frustrated and eventually they leave. I have two people that actually left just because of that. Like recently, they called me 2 days ago, actually. So
People don't generally quit companies. They
yeah,
quit managers
that's generally how it
for,
is.
for exactly that reason.
It, like the thing is, there's all sorts of things that happen when people get promoted or how they got the job or whatever. Um, so it's not necessarily only important to hire the right people to do the role, but figure out who is the best person to lead that team.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to be the best performer.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way over many years. I was thinking they're a stud at this task. Let me put them in charge, and they had little leadership capability. They are, um, yeah. So you're absolutely right.
It happens still because because of the speed that the companies develop generally. I'm speaking like
Hmm.
in simplistic terms now, but if you scale quickly, what are you going to do? Who's going to be a manager? I'll pick this person because they're the best at something. I'll chuck them in. They'll figure it out. And there's not a lot of support for
Sure.
you. So, yeah, that's what people, as you said, people don't quit companies. People quit bosses or managers or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Talk to me now, Jim, about what's next for Relo Solutions. Where are you guys going? What's the plan going forward?
Wow. I loved talking about this. So what's next is we want to continue to grow. So we're growing like a weed, and frankly, it's really just in the last year that we're growing like a weed. We're essentially a software company. Like that is the backbone of what we do. So I'm a non-asset based company. So I have my administrative staff, and I have thousands of subcontractors that do that work in the field on our behalf as our service partners. And so it took me years to get the right software platform, and I had lots of errors along the way, which were highly costly.
Oh, I know
But
that feeling.
yeah, so but the thing about the industry is that it's a very small industry, and sorry, this is my associate David.
You're
I'm on a call. I'll
fine.
call you back.
Sounds good.
Sorry about that.
You're
So it's a
fine.
very small industry. So I told my team, and I would reiterate this for 3.5 years. I'm like, we're going to intentionally hit singles. We're not going after the elephants right now. We're going after smaller organizations where we can provide a good service, but they have lower expectations and they don't have the service volumes. So we're gonna get enough that we're paying our bills and get by while we build the capability to be a strong, reliable, organization. And it took years. And so we're there now. We have a software development team in India that works exclusively for us. My first call every morning, right before this call, actually, is with my software team. I have a few of my leaders on the call every single day. So that should tell you how important we view that. And so we have an amazing development team, and every single day they're making improvements to our systems. And many of those improvements are based on what our clients are telling us or our service partners are telling us. Hey, you should put this button here. It should link to here. This is how we should add images to the jobs, things of like that. And it's amazing how the platform has changed and how we're able to scale now. So we want to continue to do that. We want to continue to diversify. So moving and storage is our core vertical,
Mhm.
but we want to do much more direct to consumer. So that is, hey, people bought stuff from Wayfair or from one of the big boxes, and now they got this huge carton in the garage, and they don't have no idea how to unpack it, how to get it in the house, how to get that treadmill or fitness equipment or TV hung on the wall. So we're doing a lot more direct to consumer. We're doing a lot more final mile. So if we look at our core competency is we manage a skilled service network throughout North America. It's like what other things can we do? So for instance, let's say one of the big banks wants to put, new flat screens in all of their branches. That's something that we can do. We have a pharmacy client where we install this electrified wall board that enables for a much more efficient method of dispensing drugs, prescriptions. So we've done, I don't know, 500 installs of retail stores. These are the kind of things that we want to continue with our FF&E and our final mile logistics, continue with moving storage. I'd love to get kind of separate business divisions going. And then I have a couple other ideas I can't bring up right now.
Fair enough. Look, that's you don't have to spill the beans completely. I'm just curious because I know you guys are doing amazing. I know we partnered and we worked together in the past.
Yes.
So I know the service level has been phenomenal every time something needed to be sorted out. So I think it's awesome. I'm looking forward to see what you guys are actually going to be developing. If you want to talk offline and let me know what those things are, I promise I'll keep it private. But anyways, so thank you very much for joining today.
It's a pleasure.
It was awesome. Like the time flew by. I really, really appreciate you jumping on. I know it's peak season right now, everything. So is there anything else that you would like to cover that we might have missed or anything that you would like to say?
I'd like to say just congratulations to you and your company and your heart to serve. Okay, so even what we're doing today, it's all about having a heart to serve, a heart to service this great industry and to help others. And so congratulations to you and your professional development. I have no doubt that your company is going to be tremendously successful, and I've heard great things already. People that don't know, I ask that they should reach out to you and get a demonstration of the technology that you've created over a long period of time with your amazing developers, and continued success to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate that. So I'm hoping that we can figure out those other verticals together. Who knows?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you again. Thank you very much. I'm humbled by that. I appreciate it a lot. I think let's see what both of us will do in the future.
Sounds great.
Thanks for joining.
I enjoyed being with you. Thank you.